Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome back to another edition of The Log Show here on YouTube. How is everyone doing today? We had a great NFL week too. A lot of major news, major injuries, major comebacks, made some big classics. Oh, an overtime classic between the Giants and Cowboys. Monday night was so much fun. Not only that, we had UFC Noche this past Saturday, and the Yankees, as Aaron Boone says, it's right in front of us. It's right in front of us, but they keep losing. They lost 7-0 last night to the Minnesota Twins, so I'll talk about that. So much on the table for today. I do want to start, though, with more likely than not the biggest headline in both the NFL and probably all of sports right now. And that is the grade 3 turf toe suffered by Joey Burr. Good old Joe Burrow down there, or up there in Cincinnati this past week. They are looking to get a second opinion on that turf toe today. And if he is out, if it is a grade 3 turf toe and he is out, he'll be out for 3 months. That puts him back in week 15. So as of right now, it looks like you are looking at your new starting quarterback down there in Cincinnati, good old Jake Browning. Now, Jake Browning has played before. As we know, Joe Burrow has been injured many times before. That's been the big news in the NFL, is obviously not just the injury by Burrow, like I'm saying, but when you look at the stats, the amount that Joe Burrow has been hit since he has come into the NFL is absolutely ridiculous. Since he's been drafted in 2020, he is the second most sacked quarterback in all of the NFL, behind only Russell Wilson, who we know all those years in Denver, and right after that, the last week in New York, hasn't been great at protecting himself in the pocket. But what we have seen is Joe Burrow be behind an absolute nothing of an O-line since he has been in his career. Seeing everyone on ESPN and Pat McAfee and the Rich Eisen show and First Take and NFL Network, seeing all these guys start to compare and be fearful of Joe Burrow's career becoming an Andrew Luck type career is so scary to hear. When we saw Joe Burrow have so much success, make the Super Bowl in his second season. He is part of arguably the greatest college football team ever assembled. That 2019 LSU national championship team is one of the greatest college football teams ever assembled. Not only that, like I said, you make a Super Bowl, you're an AFC champion in your second year ever in the NFL. Someone who's constantly been atop of the league in pass yards and touchdowns, led the league in pass yards last year. It's just been, Joe Burrow is such an absolute exceptional talent in the NFL. And when you look at it, the comparisons to Andrew Luck are there. They're glaring. And it's sad because Andrew Luck was in that same situation in Indianapolis. For those of you who do remember, Andrew Luck was so good. So much potential from Andrew Luck. 2 AFC championship appearances, back-to-back years out of Andrew Luck. So much talent. He had to retire early because Andrew Luck, everyone remembers it was just hit constantly over and over and over. And if that's the way that we're going to look at Joe Burrow's career, because like when you look at it, you know, Joe Burrow in 2021 was sacked 51 times. In 2022 was sacked 41 times. 2023 was sacked 25 times in 10 games because he got injured. 2024 last year, he's sacked 48 times. The lack of protection of Joe Burrow over there in Cincinnati is absolutely bonkers. And time again, don't get me wrong, did they need a pass rush, especially with the Trey Hendrickson situation, the way it was looking in the draft? Yes. But you're drafting DNs and wide receivers and all these fancy players. Go get an O-line. Go build something around this guy. Go protect this gem that you have in Joe Burrow over there in Cincinnati. Do something. Stop letting this happen time and time again to Joe Burrow, where we are now going to see him again out for an extended period of time for the third time in his career. He was injured his rookie year. He was injured, like I said, back in 2023. And now he's going to be out, as the way it's looking right now, until week 15 of this year. And don't get me wrong, I'm not against Jake Browning. This has nothing to do, no offense to Jake Browning. You're an NFL quarterback. You are way better than what I can produce on an NFL field, Jake Browning. I will say that time and time again. But you're not Joe Burrow, and I think everybody can recognize that part of it. Now, can he win you some games? Yeah. Does he have a winning record as a starter? Yeah. He's 4-3 as a starter. He's won some games for the Bengals when they've needed him to. He got the win this weekend. But the big point is when you look at this down there in Cincinnati, you have a situation of Joe Burrow just absolutely getting beat up time and time and time again. And you can only take so much of a beating. You can only take so much of a beating if you're Joe Burrow. At some point, your body's going to break. You got to protect this guy if you're Cincinnati, man. You have to protect this guy if you're Cincinnati. I'm saying the most obvious stuff here. You know what I mean? Like the fact that I have to sit on a show and I'm just, what people like to call a talking head, right? I'm just a talking head at the end of the day. And the fact that I can get this content out of saying something so simple, like protect the arguably a top 3 quarterback in this league. In my opinion, he is a top 3 quarterback in this league. I think the top 3 quarterbacks are all AFC quarterbacks. And I think when you look at the league, the top 3 quarterbacks are very clear. Consistently who they've been. Yeah, Jalen Hurts is very good. Yeah, Lamar is very good. But time and time again, I think the top 3 quarterbacks have been Mahomes, Allen, Burrow. Mahomes, Allen, Burrow have been the top 3 quarterbacks since all 3 of them have been in the league. So since 2020, honestly, or 2021, when the Bengals made the AFC Championship, those have been the top 3 quarterbacks in the league consistently. And you have one of those guys, and you're going to put out that offensive line, and you're going to let your offensive line perform like this time and time again, year after year? Are you kidding me? It's such a travesty. And as someone who's a Saints fan, as you can clearly see by parts of my set, and I look at my team who has Spencer Rattler, who's 0-7 in his career as a starting quarterback. And I look back at those 2012 Saints that I grew up watching that were going 8-8, and I was watching Drew get beat up year after year, and now that guy can't lift his shoulder. I can't help but feel bad for Joe Burrow. And I love seeing him with Jamar Chase and T. Higgins and these constant running backs that seem to do great in Cincinnati. Chase Brown this year and all these guys. You had Joe Mixon before that, before he leaves. And just time and time again. Just not protecting a star, an absolute star. A man that has brought you to a Super Bowl. A man that completely changed the way that the public looked at the entire Cincinnati Bengals franchise. This man caused the team to build a facility. They have an indoor facility now because of the success that Joe Burrow brought to Cincinnati. Before Joe Burrow was in Cincinnati, the Bengals had to get permission and time slots from the University of Cincinnati to play indoors. They didn't have a sponsorship on their stadium. The Bengals were thought of as this low-level, bottom-tier, never-be-successful franchise before Joe Burrow got there. And he has brought them to time and time again the promised land, playing good football. He's brought them to playoff appearance after playoff appearance, brought them to an AFC championship, brought them to a Super Bowl back in 2021. And what have you done for him? Tell me, what have you done for him? As a franchise, how have you protected this man? How? He is the second most sacked quarterback since the day he was drafted. Since the day he was drafted. It's absolutely ridiculous. And it's scary. And it's how much can he put up with? How much can his body put up with? Because that's what everyone said about Andrew Luck. And Andrew Luck was surprise retired on everyone week 1 of preseason because his body couldn't take it anymore. Started to have kidney problems. That's what you want to leave this guy to have? A what-if career, Cincinnati? Because that's what you're doing to him. It's nobody else's fault but the front office of Cincinnati because you've done nothing to protect the man. It's ridiculous. Like, looking into it, you did what? You signed one offensive lineman this past offseason. You have 2 middle round rookies rotating at your right guard. The only decent O-lineman you have is Cody Ford. Decent. He's decent at best. Definitely not getting traded to the Giants now. They have Jackson Dart. They got Jackson Dart. Giants are comfortable with Dart. It's absolutely ridiculous what's going on in Cincinnati, though. It's embarrassing. And it's sad. And it's sad. I can't get over it. I can't get over it. I mean, I don't know. From one powerhouse in the AFC, or what was, now that they're losing Joe Burrow, we'll move on to another one, and that is it seems like, what was the Kansas City Chiefs dynasty? I mean, am I the only one who's sitting there and thinking, like, it doesn't have the same je ne sais quoi this year? They just don't, you know what I mean? They just don't feel like the Chiefs, man. You got Travis Kelce bobbling passes right to the defense. You got Patrick Mahomes just doesn't feel like it's that same Mahomes magic. The defense is, at least this weekend, the defense wasn't that bad. Against the Chargers, they got absolutely torched. But this year just feels like the lack of, maybe it's the lack of weapons on the offense. You know, they are missing Rashee Rice. They are missing Xavier Worthy. So maybe it's that. I don't really know. But, you know, you look at the Chiefs team, they fall to 0-2. I want to say they get dominated by the Eagles this weekend, but it's very odd looking at that whole situation with the Eagles because it's like, I don't know, man. I don't know. I'll get into this right now if I'm going to be realistic, because it was the big moment. It was the big talk of the game that everybody's talking about now, and is this the game that kills the tush push this past weekend, this Eagles dub? And I know in the chat later, in the comments later, if I post this as a video, I know Eagles fans are going to be going crazy over this statement when I say it again. But yeah, is that the game that kills the tush push? Because 2 major points that I took out of that game about the tush push. Because you have Dean Blandino now on Fox getting mad about consistently having to watch this. You have Tom Brady calling it out on Fox. about how hard it is to officiate this play. And that's what I'm going to start. I was never in a full boat of ban the tush push, but I was never against it either because I always do feel like at the end of the day, it's a scrum, it's a rugby play. That's 100% what it is. I've had arguments with Eagles fans time and time again about, the injury rates on this and stuff like that. You're going based off a very small sample size. It's not that small of a sample size anymore because of how long they've been doing it. But still, you're going off of a sample size that now has been proven that a lot of these injuries might not be happening because you're jumping off sides every time. There was a false start every single time until you saw Chris Jones call it out. Every single time those Eagles jumped. And they do it every time. If you look at the replay, they do it every time. The guards jump on that play 8 times out of 10. 8 times out of 10, the guards jump on that play. So, and you look at it, I think it was Nick Wright on Fox gave these stats out because I saw a clip about it. The Eagles are 90, it was like 89, very high percentage successful. Because he went back and watched the film. I didn't have time to do it. He did. Thank you, Nick Wright, for taking that time and watching the film on this. A big percentage of the time of the Eagles' successful tush pushes, they jumped off sides. They was a false start. It's that simple. And I think the biggest officiating point that showed me that this play is just too hard to officiate. And that's the big reason that I don't know if it can continue as a legal play is because of how difficult it is to officiate because of the way that it is ran. Jalen Hurts got stripped. No one is talking about that. I completely believe that Jalen Hurts got stripped. But because of the way that the play was run, you couldn't tell. Because he's already on top of bodies, you couldn't tell that the ball was ripped out of his hands. So at what point do we look at this play and not sit here and argue about the dangerous of it, the rugbiness of it, the fact that it's just a scrum, and look at it and go, the Eagles, technically, if we're going to argue it the way the Eagles run it most of the time, it is 120% an illegal play because they do something illegal every time, which is they false start every time. And then not only that, do you not only have the false starts on every play, like I said, you can't officiate anything that's going on the play. Any type of penalty that happens on the offense or the defense. You know what I mean? And I genuinely mean it. We're lucky it hasn't happened yet. But realistically, it would be hard to officiate if Lane Johnson was punching someone in the scrum. You can't see it. And all this stuff. And for Eagles fans, you guys have looked at it like this and haven't thought of it, what if Jalen Hurts gets hurt because of something the refs can't see in the scrum? You know what I mean? What if one of those D linemen just right to his dome and no one sees it late because it's a scrum? It's not a play it's a very good one. Before I saw the jumping off sides, I sat there and I go, yeah, is it more dangerous than the QB sneak? 110%. But besides that, do I have a reason to ban it? No. But now you're looking at it and they jump off sides every time. When you got Adam Schefter on TV going that the Chiefs lost this game in the league meetings back in March and all of that, it's crazy. When they run it on any third and short, the proof is that they know what they're doing because when Chris Jones calls it out, and then you look at the next 4 tush pushes, they don't jump off sides. And neither of those four were as effective as the ones at the beginning of the game. It's that simple. It's that if you can't officiate the play, then you can't keep it in the game if you can't officiate the play. The Chiefs defense did everything, or not everything. They could have done better, obviously, you know. And that's another argument for not banning it. Is, well, I got to get to 3rd and 1 to run it anyway. Don't let me get to 3rd and 1. Don't let me get to 4th and 1. So, and altered, where there's a middle ground maybe. I don't know. But the one thing I do know is Sunday proved that play is way too hard to officiate, because we saw every time and time again, we saw replays of just the Eagles' 2 guards going way before the snap is even moving, way before the ball even starts moving, way. And when you take that and you look at a play that I also feel like in that same situation that, you know, Jalen Hurts got stripped on the play and they couldn't see it. I think that the tush push will get through 2025, but I do feel the tush push is in hot waters. I'm not going to lie. I really do. I really, really do. I don't know, man. I don't know. I mean, Kansas City at the tush push, and it seems like I'm blaming them for the Chiefs being 0-2, but this Chiefs team doesn't look like the same old Chiefs, man. I'll say that again too. You know, the offensive rhythm, the offense is so out of rhythm, it's insane. I'm not gonna lie, they look batshit crazy because they came out pregame. I don't know if anybody saw that. They came out pregame in a free Forge shirts, some of the team. And, I do have to say that that's really interesting. I don't know. Free 4? What, are you guys trying to dispute the fact that Rashee Rice should be suspended when he got in a car accident for drag racing and then was caught on tape walking away from the accident? Are you going to sit there and tell me that man doesn't deserve to be suspended? So, I don't know what's going on in Kansas City. Do I think they'll still be good? Yeah, you have too good of a coaching staff over there to not be good. You have Andy Reid, you have Steve Spagnuolo. You know, you have too good of a coaching staff over there in Kansas City to not be good. But they're off to a rough start, man. We're off to a rough start. But while that was happening, there was a 1 o'clock game that extended into that window because it was an overtime classic. It was one to go down in this rivalry game's record books, honestly. You know, we've had a lot of classic battles down there in Jerryland between the Giants and the Cowboys. And boy, did we get another one this week. Oh, boy, did we get another one this week. A 40-30 expires and a game winner as time expires in overtime. But not only that, on the side of the Giants, man, whoa, okay, you lose the game. But, man, and I don't get it. I'll go on the rant again. Why is Russell Wilson in hot waters? I don't know. What, because you lost the game and he didn't look amazing in overtime? You want to know what Russell Wilson did? Russell Wilson had 450 yards and 3 touchdowns. Russell Wilson just threw for the 4th most all-time. He's tied for the 4th most all-time for most passing yards in a single game for a New York Giant. That's what he just did in week 2 down there in Dallas. This week. It's funny that we are looking at a team in the Dallas Cowboys a week out of a Micah Parsons trade, and we're saying how much better the opposing O-line look compared to week 1. I just want to point that out. So let's not jump the gun on Jackson Dart, and let's actually say, oh my God, the New York Giants have a great transitional quarterback in this 1 year of Russell Wilson. What an idea of the front office. What a quarterback for Jackson Dart to sit behind. Now, I do think the play calling is a little interesting. You ran a play action on every third down. Every third down was just a play action heave to Malik Neighbors or Wan'Dale Robinson. It just happened to work. We just happened to see Kaiir Elam get absolutely. He was, oh my God. Kaiir Elam, former first round pick, by the way. You guys I don't know if you remember that. He's a former first round pick. And man, he looked like a piece of burnt toast on Sunday. Oh my God. Did Kaiir Elam look bad? Got dusted on that Hail Mary that gave the Giants the lead towards the end of the game. Ugh. Whew. Whew. He's having a rough day today in film. Or yesterday in film. He's having a tough day. He's having a tough day. He was getting burnt left and right. You had Neighbors have a $167. You have Wan'Dale have a $142. Cam Scatterbo broke out a little bit too at 45 yards. I think you're in a good spot after this week if you're the New York Giants. And I really don't think that you should jump the gun and go into this we need Dart now mentality. There's no reason for that. There's absolutely no reason for the New York Giants to go into that mentality. With the way that I saw Russell Wilson play on Sunday, he looked as close to Seahawks Russell Wilson that we have seen since he left. Since he went to Denver and all of that, we just saw last Sunday the best Russell Wilson we have seen. And I'm still listening to people in the New York media sit there and beg for Jackson Dart to play. And I'm telling you, if you put Jackson Dart in, it will not work out. You will ruin the poor kid's career. Please, Dable. Please, New York. Be patient. Again, this isn't your Super Bowl year. You're not going on a run this year. You have the hardest schedule in the NFL. Take a deep breath, New York. It's okay. Win 5 to 7 games with Russell Wilson. Go get an O-lineman at 13. Now, after that, once you get the pieces in and you let Dart learn and you bring in somebody to protect him, a few pieces probably to protect him, if I'm going to be honest looking at this Giants O-line. Then you're in a good spot. You're in a great spot. A great spot if you're the New York Giants. Take your time. In terms of the NFC East, you're not winning the division. You're not better than Washington. You're not better than Philadelphia, especially when Philadelphia gets to jump off sides every time. It's okay, New York. It's okay. Russell Wilson just had an amazing game. It sucks that you lost to Brandon Aubrey, who hit a 64-yarder and a 46-yarder. He didn't play great in overtime. No, he didn't. But he played great for 4 quarters. You're in a good spot. Dart's in a good spot. We saw him a little bit. I don't hate that. Especially if the media is going to be so loud about it. Do that. Use him as the distraction. But don't rush this kid in. Yes, with your schedule, if you end up 0-8, 0-10, somehow, some way, you don't squeeze out any type of wins, then yeah, maybe throw him in before the end of the season when games get meaningless. But while this is technically still meaningful football and Russell Wilson is not getting protected great, take a breath and wait. And wait. You got Scatterbo. Scatterbo had flashes. And Tyrone Tracy looked dead. So you have that. Take that rookie and have that be your rookie of the year for the Giants. I don't mean overall rookie of the year. I don't know about all that yet. But enjoy that, and then you'll get your new fresh quarterback next season or at the end of this season. Don't rush him in. Don't rush him in. It, in my opinion. Giving him no chance behind no protection. I mean, I don't know. It was a fun game to watch. Talking about fun games to watch, how about last night? How about that? How about that Bucs-Texans game last night, guys? Oh, that one was fun. That Bucs-Texans game was last night. And man, shout out Baker Mayfield, man. Shout out Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield went absolutely, I looked at my dad last night, and I even said it. I was like, they scored too early to Houston when Nick Chubb scored that touchdown. And looking back at the play over and over again, I've seen the play like 6 or 7 times now. I think they let him score because they trust Baker that much. I genuinely think they trust Baker Mayfield that much. Because you look at the whole situation there, and like, I had no doubt in my mind. I had no doubt in my mind. I thought he was going to score faster. But I had no doubt in my mind that Baker Mayfield was going to drive down the field and win that game. No doubt at all. There's these guys that just have that. Where it's like when they get the ball in that 2-minute situation, down by a touchdown or down by 6 or down by 3, you're like, oh, he'll go get a score. Yeah, he'll go get the score they need. Every time. That's what it feels like, at least. Obviously, there's times where he doesn't do it. Mahomes this year, there's been multiple times where he hasn't done it. With Baker Mayfield, man. He just drives down the field with 2 minutes left and wins that game. He's just a winner, man. And he's in a division that's absolutely wide open. I mean, Atlanta's at a surprising 2-0 start, but you're in a division that's wide open. And he's a baller, man. I hate to say it about someone in my division. You're looking at me with all this Saints stuff, but and to think about the way that he got thrown out of Cleveland, looking back at all that, bro. He won a playoff game. Don't forget it. He brought against Pittsburgh, which that's a big deal there in Cleveland. That's like, you know what I mean? That's like if Jackson Dart next year takes the Giants and they win a playoff game against the Eagles. That's what that is to the Cleveland Browns. That's what Baker did. Baker won a playoff game against the Pittsburgh Steelers during COVID, and his coach wasn't on the sidelines. His head coach had COVID. He got booted out of there. Like, everyone calls this a comeback story. Like, you know what I mean? And it's hilarious because all he came back from was Cleveland. Like, yeah, that situation down there in Carolina where he starts for a year and they don't do well. They draft Bryce Young. But you see that wasn't a good roster at all. Carolina's a whole separate set of problems, and Baker wasn't one of them. He walks into Tampa, and he's a stud, man. They gave him a surrounding cast, and he's a baller down there. Like I said, when he gets that ball with 2 minutes left, boy, am I confident. Boy, am I confident. Bucky Irvin gets that game-winning touchdown. Raiders. The Raiders. Chargers just 100% absolutely manhandled the Raiders. But, you got the Chiefs at 0-2. You got the Raiders at 1-1. You got the Chargers at 2-0. You got the Chiefs team, or the Chiefs team is absolutely struggling right now, like we talked about before. And then after that, you have this Raiders team that struggled last night against a very good Chargers. Got that, even though a lot of these players did struggle last night. You have that over there in Vegas, and then the Chargers with Herbert and Ladd McConkey, Keenan Allen, Omarion Hampton, Najee Harris. You got a lot of good pieces over there. You got Khalil Mack. You got a lot. Derwin James. This Chargers team is something to behold, man, especially with Jim Harbaugh as their head coach. This AFC West, I never thought I'd say this while the Chiefs were there, and there's an episode 3 weeks ago, right before the season started, where I was making my predictions and I was doing all of that, and I was talking about this division, about how I think, yeah, is it exciting? Don't get me wrong, 100%, but it's the Chiefs division to lose. And right now, it looks like a situation where I was completely wrong. At this point in the season, obviously we're only 2 weeks in, but it's the Chargers division to lose. They look so good out there, man. They look so polished. They easily look like the best team in that division. Herbert's hitting his stride. They're playing very, very well right now. I can't lie. The run game needs to improve a little bit out of Amari and Hampton at least. But Najee Harris was doing his thing last night. It's a very, very interesting, it's a fun and interesting situation over there in LA. 2 years ago, people were like, oh my God, I got a road game against the Chargers. That's another home game because road fans were selling out the Charger Stadium. And now look at them. They are vibing. They are vibing. And they get a big win last night. Shout out the Chargers, man. Shout out the Chargers, man. Shout out. Shout out Justin Herbert. Shout them all out, man. Oh, also, I do want to bring this up. Gentry didn't have a great night, but he owes child support to that the defensive back that he trucked. I'm blanking on who it was, but oh my God. That man stood no chance. He ran him over like a... That was like a Mack truck hitting a deer is what that looked like. The way that, oh my God, absolutely ran over that man. I don't know. Monday night was fun, though. Like, last night was a fun little doubleheader. You have the Bucks. You got Baker. I mean, you got Baker being Baker and Herbert being Herbert. You know what I mean? The two winning teams played as exceptional. The Raiders struggled. I think they're going to be a very up and down team. The Texans, I don't know. Stroud just looks like by himself out there. No protection. He didn't look great at the end of the game, too. Doesn't play well in primetime games either. It's an interesting situation. But yeah. I mean, going around the league now, if I'm going to be honest, just looking at the rest of week 2, you got the Bills. The Bills absolutely smacked the Jets. That one was crazy to watch. Just absolute dominance. If you get Fields if Fields ends up injured, which sucks for Justin Fields, but that happens. So you're maybe looking at Tyrod Taylor this week if you are the New York Jets because of that injury. But the Bills, 30-10, absolute dominant victory. Philadelphia, obviously, we talked about them earlier with the Chiefs. They moved to 2-0. You got the Rams moving to 2-0 as they beat the Titans. We talked about the Bengals earlier. They moved to 2-0. You got the Niners at 2-0 as they beat my Saints with Mac Jones, no George Kittle. They beat Spencer Rattler and the Saints. You get the Cardinals moving to 2-0, which I did not have. I thought the Cardinals were going to struggle this year, man. But the Cardinals moved to 2-0. James Conner looks very, very good this year, and he's the big part of that offense. Marvin Harrison did not get a lot of action on Sunday, but they end up beating the Panthers. I mean, Panthers do everything in their right mind outside of executing offensively to win that game. They get an onside kick. They do everything they need to do to try to win that game and just couldn't execute at the end of that game. And then the biggest surprise team in the league is easily the Colts, man. Danny Dimes down there in Indianapolis is ripping it up, man. It seems like he found a new home. It is so fun to watch. That offense is electric. So many people downfield. They're just tossing it over the top on people. Daniel Jones got an arm, which is opening up the field for Jonathan Taylor. So much fun over there. I can't wait to see how that goes. And another division that looks wide open with the way that Houston is playing. And the other two teams being Jacksonville and Tennessee, who just aren't at that point yet They're a fun team to watch, man. Shout out the Colts. Shout out the Lad Hass, as they call Lucas Oil Stadium down there. They look like they're having a lot of fun down there. They did their annual mascot versus Pee Wee football game. I always recommend looking that up on YouTube and watching that. It is the funniest thing ever, watching that game. Watching all those mascots they get from all over. Just absolutely toss 8-year-olds or just pick them up and literally throw 8-year-olds. It's so funny. It is one of the funniest things you'll watch. I always recommend watching that. You got the Ravens. They bounce back. They absolutely smacked the Browns after, obviously, everyone knows that week one collapse on Sunday night against Buffalo. They smack around Cleveland in a big game for Lamar, a big game for the Ravens as they get back in the win column. The Lions have an extremely explosive second half. They drop a 50 burgers. Ben Johnson returns to Detroit. The Patriots get a very, very big win against Miami as Miami falls to 0-2. Drake May looked really good in that game, man. Drake May looked good. The Patriots move to 1-1. They get a big win. You get the Seahawks move to 1-1 as they beat the Steelers, as the Steelers look absolutely the exact opposite as they did against the New York Jets. You got Rodgers throwing 2 interceptions. That kickoff play, which is just a lack of awareness that you never see out of Mike Tomlin-led teams. So much like that out of Pittsburgh that was just ugly. The Seahawks end up getting a big win in that game. And yeah, you got the Vikings. You got that whole situation. J.J. McCarthy, he suffers a high ankle sprain, so they play the Bengals this week. So for all of you guys interested, that game is going to be Jake Browning versus Carson Wentz. Is that Vikings-Bengals quarterback matchup we have for this week. So that one will be fun to watch. We'll see how that injury develops as the season goes on. As they lost on Sunday night to the Atlanta Falcons. They lost 22-9 in a very, very, very boring kicker central game. But yeah, I mean, week 2 was fun, man. Week 2 was fun, man. And now we sit here looking for a fun week 3. I can't wait for it, man. I mean, we got some fun games at week 3 looking at the schedule. Trying to think what the game of the week is. We got Cleveland, Green Bay. That's going to be a murder. Baltimore, Detroit this week is a good one. That's a good one. Denver, Chargers is a good one. We got some good matchups this week, man. I'm not going to lie. We got some good matchups this week. Eagles, Rams, honestly, isn't that bad of a matchup. Yeah, we got some good matchups this week. You got Buffalo, Miami on Thursday night. I don't know how great of a matchup that one is, but yeah. Moving on. That's enough about football. Obviously, there's a new addition to my set over here that I got a few weeks ago, this good old Aaron Judge jersey. I will talk about my Yankees for a little bit as they dropped a game to the Minnesota Twins, which hurts. I live by the saying every Yankees season of death, taxes, and Yankees beating the Twins. And that failed last night. That absolutely failed. That didn't just fail last night. They looked atrocious. They went 7-0 is terrible. I mean, I didn't watch the game. I was watching the football games instead. But just 7-0, getting that alert on my phone hurt, man. Against the Minnesota Twins. You're 5 games back of the East right now. You're in the wild card. You're in front of the wild card right now. You got 13 games left. 6 of which against Baltimore. You know, it's a sticky situation with the Yankees, man. And I don't know. I'm scared of the postseason, I'll be honest. As of right now, we're playing Boston, who we didn't do well against, but we ended the season well against. So that gives me a little bit more confidence in the New York Yankees. Obviously, Judge just keeps doing Aaron Judge things. And on that, if anybody wants to sit here and argue with me that Aaron Judge does not deserve the AL MVP, I'm sorry. Cal Raleigh leads the AL in home runs and RBIs. Aaron Judge leads the American League in batting average, WAR, on base percentage, OPS, and what was the other one? And I'm blanking on the other stat that was there. I said WAR. I said batting average. I said on base percentage. I said on base plus slugging. It was definitely those four stats. My point is Aaron Judge is the AL MVP, man. Let's see if they have his rankings next to. Oh, and by the way, he missed 10 games. Don't forget that either. Don't forget that Aaron Judge also missed 10 games. All right. You ready? Aaron Judge leads the American League in batting average. He's second in home runs, fourth in hits, leads in on-base percentage, on-base plus slugging. Like, come on, man. Don't mess with Aaron Judge. Don't mess with Aaron Judge. This man is too good. Man is such a stud. He is the AL MVP. Nobody can argue me on that, man. No one can argue. No one can look. I invite people to look at me and tell me that Cal Raleigh deserves MVP. Don't get me wrong. What a season from the big dumper over there in Seattle. He's having an absolutely ridiculous season. But, man, don't nobody try to sit here and argue with me that Aaron Judge is not your American League MVP, especially if he breaks 40 home runs. Or 50. What is he at? 38, 48? Yeah, he's at 48. If he breaks 50 home runs again, please. Please. And I don't doubt that he will. He missed 10 games, too. He's going to have a 50 home run season and he missed 10 games. Man is ridiculous. Man is absolutely ridiculous. You know, they play the Twins tonight. Who's starting tonight? Good old Google, baby. Who is starting tonight? We got Schlittler tonight. He's 3-3. That'll be an interesting one. And Luis Gil tomorrow to end the series. You know, in Minnesota, these are games you need to win. All these games coming up are just games you need to win. None of these teams are very good. None of these teams are very good left. You're sitting in a good spot, Yankees. Because, I mean, on the other hand, I looked at it 2 days ago. Toronto still has Boston twice. They got Tampa twice. You know, they could fall. You just need to win if you're the Yankees. You're in a good spot. You just need to win, man. And I know it's scary, but, you know, I like that we're having Caballero play a lot more short. Volpe's starting to get benched. No offense to Anthony Volpe. I like a lot of the fielding additions that seem to have gotten comfortable. A lot of them seem to have gotten comfortable. So I love that. I love that. But who knows? I'd love for them to win the American League, and I think every Yankee fan would. I think I'm just speaking for all the Yankee fandom here that it just makes all of us feel so much more comfortable if we don't have to go through Boston, and just so much can happen in that wild card round. It's such a toss-up. Just it's scary. It's a scary situation, man. Moving on from the MLB. Onto a world that not a lot of people know, but I do love to talk about. I did not watch the whole event on Saturday, but I did go back and rewatch the main event, the absolutely insane knockout by UFC Noche winner Diego Lopez, one of my favorite fighters. I love Diego, man. The way he fights is so different and so exciting, and it just... I feel like I've been watching Diego Lopez's, I don't want to say whole UFC career, but it really does feel like I've been watching his whole UFC career. He earns performance of the night. He earns fight of the night. Just a beautiful spinning elbow right to Gene Silva's dome piece. Put him out in a situation where he was already hurt. He wasn't really winning the fight. And it's just an absolute big proving, or not really a statement win, more of a, honestly, no, you can call it a statement win because it puts Diego Lopez in that top 3 consistently of that division where it's him, Volk, and Yair and Mosavar. It's those 4. And like I just said, the 2 that are his next fight. You have you either go Mosavar because he's a rank above him, or you go Yair because you have that canceled fight with Yair from earlier this year in March. And they have that, they butt heads. They got a nice little rivalry there. I would love to see the Yair fight. I really would, because I think those 2 against each other would be one of the most exciting fights in the UFC. I think it'd be great for the UFC to put that as one of their first fights on Peacock, or Paramount or whatever they're on. And yeah, I think it's a great situation there for the UFC. I think that Yair fight is just screaming at you, especially after it got canceled earlier this year. I think that one is an absolute money maker and a half. And I think the argument is if you do that fight, is it a title eliminator? You know what I mean? Does the winner get a title shot? And then if that is the situation, then it's hard to argue that it shouldn't be Diego versus Mosavar, because we've already seen Diego Volk. We've already seen Yair Volk. We've yet to see Mosavar Volk. So you have to give Mosavar that title shot eventually, but you could do them on the same night if you want to do something crazy. If you could get the Volk-Mosavar fight, now that's a whole different situation. If you could have Mosavar fight Volk as a main event, and then as the fight before the co-main event, we have a Diego Lopez, Yair Rodriguez 5-round fight for the champion, for a title shot. I love that. I love that. I love that idea. But nonetheless, Diego Lopez gets a huge win at UFC, this year's UFC Noche, over Gene Silva in the second round. So, yeah, I'm gonna get more. I gotta get back. I've been off of UFC for a little bit, but watching that spinning elbow, I'm back, baby. I'm back. I'm watching whatever. I'm watching Fight Night this Saturday. Like, I'm back, baby. I'm back in the UFC, baby. I'm so back. Yeah. I mean, what a crazy week it was, man. I don't know. I don't know if let me know what you guys think in the comments. You know, everyone check out the Instagram, the Log Show _ at the Log Show _. Check out the TikTok at the Log Show. Check it out. A bunch of clips will be coming out this week. Not only that, yeah, let me know down in the comments below if anybody's watching this after what you guys think of week 2. Overreactions, underreactions, all of it. Are the Chiefs dead? Let me know what everyone thinks, please, please, please. Thank you, everybody who has tuned in, everyone who tuned in live, who was tuning in live. Thank you, everybody who does watch this later on YouTube, tunes into the live streams later. I appreciate everybody, every single one of my viewers, every single one of my subscribers. I appreciate all of you. I know most of you personally still, and I love what I do. I love to build this consistently. So I appreciate every single view I get. But that is all I have for you today. Like I said, follow me on all of my social media accounts. All of them are at The Log Show, or Instagram's at The Log Show _. So follow me on all my socials over there. Twitter is at LikeGeb10. And that's all I got for you guys today. I will see you guys all next week with hopefully a great NFL Week 3, college football Week 3. Hopefully the Yankees are looking like they're about to sneak up on first at the AL East by the time I get to you guys next Tuesday. We will see. I will see you guys next week. Peace out.